On Edwards, when we spoke on Monday, you said he missed Tuesday, but probably all right for Villa.
Yeah, he's done a bit of the training today. Hopefully there's no reaction to that. If there isn't and he gets through training tomorrow, then he'll be available for selection, which is obviously what we'd all would like.
What about Jano Danastian? He just played the first 45 in the week.
Yeah, I think probably the right decision to take him off, but he has trained today. He's done the full session. Again, I'll speak with Chris Skate and Matt regarding that and how we feel it's settled. But again, the signs are positive.
Everyone else okay?
Yeah, that obviously the long term with Tom Adeyemi, Luke Wolfenden's out, Emir Hughes isn't up for selection, but has trained again today, so he's feeling quite positive at the minute. Hopefully that can continue, and then probably like Rowie and Bish were positives from the other night, but wouldn't be considered to start, but they've been out there again, so on that side we're looking like we're going in the right direction.
A couple of weeks till the window closes. Any further forward on loan moves in or out?
No, lots of conversations about the ones trying to come in. I think the other way around, realistically, you're waiting on phone calls or requests to come in. But I'm just saying it's similar-ish to the transfer window, what we're talking about. You speak to some clubs about possible targets and he might be available, but we can't do it at the minute because we need one in. So you kind of wait for them and maybe look online and all of that to hopefully see some news where they've signed someone in that position, and you think we might get the green light there.
And in the last couple of days, a positive reaction from the players up to Tuesday night?
Well, we were off Wednesday. Again, I think the question was asked after the game about getting him in for training, all of that. I didn't see a value in doing that. I came in, so it's not like it was I just want to stay at home and sulk in bed. But no, I think the rest was important. They were back late. Irrespective of what we felt about the game, there was a large sort of physical element to it. The running stats, I have to say, were high from that point of view. So we've in today, the lads have been fine, to be honest, and hopefully that's partly by the way that we've been around them. Haven't got a big stick and beating them, or like I said, not speaking to people. I think they know my thoughts on the other night. That hasn't realistically changed, but at the same time we've got a game to try and win against Aston Villa, and that's where now the focus is very much on, albeit we'll show them some clips to make them aware of things that we don't feel we're right or not happy with, but more not as a punishment. It's about trying to get better and improve, that they can hopefully take on board for future games.
Do you know if the lads have had a meeting amongst themselves? Is that something you'd like them to do, to kind of take on the responsibility?
I don't know. I think I heard something mentioned that they were a suggestion that might be a good idea. I don't know, but I think what I would say is I think we can very quickly get sort of carried away with whatever people perceive as a situation, or with 3 games in, we played pretty well against Blackburn, got a point, admittedly a late goal, but I think we were worthy of at least a point. Played well at Rotherham, we didn't win the game, accepted, but there were lots of positives, and if you get maybe a penalty decision or take one of those chances, we could be sat here talking about a very different conversation. Midweek, wasn't happy clearly, but lots of teams seem to suffer a fate in that competition, sometimes admittedly with weaker teams, and we went pretty strong, but I don't think it's certainly not a time to start panicking. I think you asked a question about concern. I said I could understand some people will have that. I think it's too early to get into those conversations, and from my point of view, I want to look on the positive side and really look forward to what's a very big game for us against very tough opposition.
Yeah, just 3 games and clearly positives in 2 of those, but is it fair to say that nobody's really nailed down their place in your starting 11? Would you like to see players starting to do that?
No, I think some have. I think overall, if I come to pick the team, and there's some names that I know will be on the team sheet, and then maybe one or two others, or slightly debatable, and one or two others will be on the fringes, hoping that perhaps they might get an opportunity. But I've seen quite a lot of positives still. It's just I guess you'll have seen when I've done my post-match interviews, I'm not going to throw them at you because results, and as I said before, I hate watching managers and it just sounds like they're trotting excuses out. It's not really my style. In the cold light of day, and when you've looked at things a little bit more objectively, perhaps, there are some things that have been good. We just want one of those results to kind of back that up, really.
How pleased have you been with Trevor coming in, the way that he did at the last minute to play a few minutes against West Ham and then pretty much hit the ground running in men's football for the first time? Yeah,
again, he's a young lad that's got should have an excellent career ahead of him, and we're hoping to help him take some of the first steps in real first team action. I think already he's shown a value to us. I think he can get better, but he's an athlete. That's again being backed up by looking at the information that we collect. Comfortable on the ball. Again, he maybe at times needs to be just a little bit tidy, a little bit careful. But overall, I think we know we've got a player on his hands.
Yes, really keen to keep a hold of the positivity that there's definitely been over the summer.
Yeah, and I said that from the start about getting into the season and how that can quickly disappear. And there might be some people out there where that's already happened. I can't help too much on that side, apart from try and get the team to win a game of football. And then, as I said before, everyone feels better about life. So hopefully we can do that, sooner rather than later. And certainly the game on Saturday presents a big challenge. But again, I whatever the result, positive or negative, I think it's a game where I'll learn a lot from, because it's a different type of game than what we've had in terms of the 3 games. And I think it'll be interesting to see how some of the players react that get the opportunity to put the shirt on again, or the starting lineup, and also how they handle going up against a big club in sure what will be a big atmosphere at Portman Road.
You've been unhappy with some of the goals you've conceded so far this season. Is that something you're working extra hard on here at Playford Road?
In all honesty, in general, they're quite easy to avoid. I think the one at Rotherham, Smith could hit that ball again. I don't know how many times. Wouldn't particularly land up where it did. It was a good finish, but instinct, and I think a lot of the times it might hit bar or the player that was on the line, or go over the bar, whatever it was. A couple I think we've certainly contributed to ourselves with some mistakes. So after that, there's not too much. It's not. Again, in quite a couple of the games, I didn't really see the opposition scoring, so I think that's a positive. I think Blackburn, goals aside, they had one attack that second period where the game was becoming stretched, where they perhaps should have scored. I don't feel like we're relying on Bart to make lots of saves, or we're being cut open massively. That said, we've got the biggest challenge ahead on Saturday with a team that I think have scored 3 twice in the league games, and clearly carry a big attacking threat.
It's a demanding role you're asking of either Ellis or Caden up top on their own. You must need a bit more support around them, perhaps?
At times. That's something we've been looking at, in terms of whether that's from the wide players, whether that's from the midfield players. That was one of the things the other night. I think on a couple of occasions, I think Teo broke for the goal. John Nolan's burst forward created a chance. He had an attempt later on. But we have to get people willing to run forward, and at times and something looking back at the game in particular, that was the three midfield players were far too close together, and therefore there wasn't an option to come out and switch players much. We also, if three players are all wanting the ball, well, that means they're not going to be able to get in the box. So sometimes, as much as we want people to want the ball, there has to be an element of, okay, on this occasion, I need to think about where my teammates are, and maybe it's time for me to get in the box and cause a problem. So that's something we'll look through tomorrow, but also, show on the DVD, and hopefully that will help them when they see it, and maybe just helps them understand what we're trying to say to them a bit more.
By the sounds of things, you see Aston Villa are serious challengers for promotion this season. Not too many people talked about them in the summer. There was talk about Steve Bruce's future, about the change of ownership, about players leaving left, right and centre.
Yeah, well that seems to have settled, doesn't it? New owners coming in, or new investors, I think it is, sorry, that have clearly, I think, given the club a boost. They've came out and said that Steve Bruce is the man. In my opinion, rightly so, that shouldn't have really been up for discussion. And maybe bad news for the rest of us, but that investors, I think, are going to allow him to bring in, I think he's been linked with 3 players. I haven't had a chance to look, so forgive me if they've signed someone that we're not talking about today, but they've already got a good squad anyway. Let's not kid ourselves. If they can add more quality to that, with the crowd that they get, all of that, they've got to be one of the contenders.
You must be excited by this kind of challenge. This is what the Championship's all about, isn't it? Aston Villa and Steve Bruce and some of the games on the horizon.
Of course, and for each game you go into, there's only 3 points at stake, no more, no less, whether it's Aston Villa or Rotherham. But at the same time, you want to be involved in the games where there's going to be a real atmosphere. There's away fans will be there in the numbers. I'm sure our fans will respond in turn. And you want to play against the best team. No better feeling than if you can come out the right side of the result against a team where they're probably going to be favourites going into it. So yeah, these are the ones you look forward to. Of course, it's naturally there'll be a little bit of apprehension, but that's what, like I said, I'm interested in seeing how the players do approach it. We'll get some clear messages from himself as staff and as the manager, and hopefully they can carry those out.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
What was the journey home like? Paul, on Tuesday you flew home.
Yeah.
Quiet?
It was extremely quiet, I have to say. I wouldn't probably have expected anything different. But look, a lot more serious things happen in life than losing a game of football. But perhaps one of those most obvious things, is almost losing someone, and it felt a little bit like that. A bit of sort of mourning going on, and I think that was obviously partly what we'd said, the fact we'd been knocked out of the competition, and I think we know that we should have won that game, so that all contributed to it, but that's fine for that day. I certainly wouldn't expect people laughing and joking at that stage, but then they've had the day to get themselves together, maybe spend a bit of time at home with family, with the kids. Those that are lucky enough that have got kids, that's a great way to try and take your mind off it, get you back to reality, and hopefully, they seemed it this morning at least, ready to go and think about the next challenge ahead.
How have they reacted to your words? Because you've told us from day one that you're going to be honest and blunt about things. You certainly were on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That can go one of 2 ways with some players, can't it?
Yeah, perhaps it can. As I said, I just was asked sort of a question about, was those words said to try and spark a reaction for Saturday? I hope there is a reaction, but it wasn't done with that intention. It was more about, said just me being me. I don't try and say things to fool people or put on a show. It's a way that I've always been as a manager, and said it served me pretty well so far. Now, if some individuals, can't take those words, then, while it might be my problem as well, there's an element it's also theirs. I think it's how you act after that. And if in general they see me as someone that will talk to them, treat them well, then I don't think it should be an issue. And I think that's probably what's happened in the past. I sometimes I hear little comments throughout my career. I think if they'd have had some of the managers that I've had on some of the stories that you hear still, and the way people are treated, then they would really struggle at other places. So I don't see it being an issue. If it is, it is. I'd have to live and die by that. But I'm not going to change the way that I've managed and the way that I feel is best, because someone maybe have got an ego that can't take that. I said it from the start, I'm not into egos. I'm into trying to win games of football. The players are, so it shouldn't be an issue. And that's what I'm hoping. Didn't see anyone sulking around today, so hopefully it's been and gone, as I said, and we're on to the next one.
This lead up to the international break is going to be a real acid test. You touched upon it earlier. You're going to find out a lot from these next 4 games. Is that a time when you'll really step back and assess things? At what stage will you do that? Yeah,
I think you're constantly assessing, of course, but I kind of said the other day, it does feel, and not particularly sure why, it does feel a little bit different than some of the other seasons that I've had, where we probably had a very similar schedule, but it's been, I don't feel like you've almost had time to breathe. It's kind of on to the next one. And like I said, I'm used to that in terms of the games, but I don't know, it just seems a little bit different perhaps. Once we get through these next 4 games, then realistically there is a bit of time to really sit and reflect and, like you say, analyse, assess what's been before and what either needs to stay the same, what needs to change during that break.
At what stage do you think it would be fair to judge you and this project? Because a lot of managers say, give me 2-3 windows before you start to judge things.
Well, a lot of managers say that, and I dare say some say it genuinely and some say it to try and give themselves time. I'm not going to put a time frame on that. In the end, that'll be down to the owner. Fans will make their own mind up no matter what I say. You guys will make your mind up no matter what I say. So I'm not going to say that. I think logic suggests it will take time. We're not coming and maybe tweaked 1 or 2 things. There has been quite a big turnaround in players, and still looking to do that. There's been a big change in terms of what's been asked of the players. And there's always perhaps there was a cry for change, and then it's like, well, did we want that change? And that's life. And again, I know what happens. Results make it the change right. If they're positive, and if they're negative, then careful what you wish for. That's life again. But overall, for me, it's still getting them players. So some of those players have been with us a week, near enough. So can't expect everything to click. And I think you've already found it's part of me. I want it to, and almost expect it to. But realistically, it's not going to. But we want it to happen as soon as possible.
Because the easy thing for you would have been to come in and not change as much, to think, well, this was a team that still finished 12th last year. Ease myself in to a certain degree and find our feet collectively. But that's not your style, is it?
No, I think it might be yourself, Stuart, that asked me before about potentially is it too much change too soon, and I stick by what I said, that if it doesn't work out, I'd rather have given it a go the way that I want to do it, rather than thinking, like you said, almost being careful. Usually the expression sort of dipping my toe in and getting a feel. Let's sort of have a go. And that's the motto I want for the players. And I want that on Saturday. We know we're up against a good team, but we're not. I'm not going to suddenly change and we're just going to go, right, let's get everyone behind the ball. No one does anything. No one move out of position, and we'll see if we can keep Villa out and hope we get a lucky goal. We're going to try and be positive. There might be little things that are a little bit different than what you've seen before, perhaps. But overall, a lot of the principles will remain the same, and I want to try and get that crowd involved again that we spoke about. Everyone said the opening day that the atmosphere was much better than it has been in recent times, at least. I want to try and get that again, and if we can, get it even better. They're a big part of the football club fans playing at home. If we don't give them anything to shout about, or at least try, then there's no point playing at home.
Just finally on loans out, have you circulated a list of names now?
No, I haven't circulated them. Again, it can work very different ways, and I think everyone's got an agent, and I'm sure they're making them aware. Or if someone just picks up the phone, I'll tell them the situation of certain lads, and see what happens really over these next couple of weeks.
You said you were in two minds about Andre and some others. What would be the best thing? Have you made your mind up on?
On most, yeah, and I think with Doz we're going to have another chat this afternoon and really try and sort of get that situation clear with Andre as well. And I think that would be our suggestion. Certainly is better for him to probably stay here. There he's under our eyes and can get the attention that we feel he requires. Andre is desperate to play football, and I fully understand that, and I'd much rather have someone like that than someone that's like, I'll just stay here and it's easier life. But he's got to understand it, again, it's for his long-term future, not September, not October, but I'm talking 2020, 2021, whatever it is, for him. And that's kind of the message we've got to try and stress, and we'll have to continue to stress, I think, during what will be a little bit of a frustrating period for him. But I've said it before, hand on heart, it is for him and what's best for Andre.
Good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
So the concern is really not that he shouldn't aggravate the injury again, rather than sort of lack of lungs, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think basically what we've done is we've done some testing, and it's highlighted again some deficiencies in terms of his physical makeup that unfortunately bolster the chances of a reoccurrence of an injury. It's not to say it definitely will, but it's a guide, and it's one that the medical team will use and would make significant calls on. And at the minute, those results aren't where we would want him to be, and we can see the risk attached to that. So that's what a big part of the thinking behind it. We will probably retest him again just to check that those results weren't on maybe a bad day or whatever it is. But that's the thought process behind it.
And you're conscious, obviously, that there were so many injury problems at the club last year. You're aiming that you don't have a repetition of that this year.
Yeah, and we got Luke Wolfenden, because that's the type of injury. If he lands and does something to his knee, you can't do anything about that. Same as if someone goes in for a 50-50 tackle. Danasi the other night, the knock that he got was an impact injury. They're so difficult to stop, and I dare say won't stop. It's just part and parcel of it. But the muscular injuries that hopefully we can make a big improvement on. Like I said, we're starting to get lads back. Hopefully we can keep them back, because we're going to need everybody throughout the course of the season. Fingers crossed. Like I said, we feel like we're making the right strides in that area.
And he's another one. Is he in a similar sort of position to Andre, that you're treating the kid well, basically?
No, I think with Ems, he's an element because he's been out for so long. He's a little bit cautious at times, but I think we're coming through that now. In truth, and said he ended training today. Asked him how he was, and he was really positive. He said his knee felt really good. He's more just he understands he needs to be fitter, and my comment to him was, well, that's a good place to be in. While it's hard to get fit, as in physically the effort required, and while you're doing some of the running or lifting, whatever it is, it's testing you mentally as well. But realistically, if that knee's fine, then that's a good place to be in. And again, that's a positive for me. and he's another player that I think we enhance the squad, and I'm sure the fans again would love to see him back out on that pitch.
So 23 for him next Monday, perhaps?
Hopefully. I haven't discussed that with him, but realistically that's what I'd be looking at, and providing we get through tomorrow, Saturday, and no real issues. I think one thing I would say is with Ems and his knee, there will still be times when it swells. Now that's not to say that that's a disaster, but some days it might just be a little bit puffy compared to others. Like, that's just the body natural response, and providing that goes pretty quickly, which most times it will, hopefully all the time, then that's, that we can live with that. It's just, I think if you look as that person and that player, you can get a little bit panicky about it. But no, hopefully we'll get him involved on Monday night.
And Teo was one of the highlights on Tuesday, to say his performance, and I think it's only his 7th senior start.
Teo did okay. Some things he didn't do great, some things he did okay. Part of that midfield, that the balance wasn't quite right in some respects. But again, it's the first time we'd started with those three, and realistically Monday we didn't look at that in terms of we were in after the weekend, and then you're travelling to Exeter. So that's maybe one of the things, the timing of it, you don't get too much time, particularly because again where we're situated and we're straight on a coach, whereas maybe a lot of the other midweek games I've been used to having, you maybe have Monday morning, people are still around in the afternoon, and then you've kind of home and just travelling for the game the next day. So yeah, we did, in fairness to the lads, we didn't have sort of hours to really drill things home, but some of the things that were happening, perhaps I maybe naively, but I expect them to know, and would have helped them, have more time on the ball, or perhaps get into goal scoring opportunities.
Have you got a decision to make up front with Caden scoring? Did Caden deliberately score that goal, or was it as he said? Or?
Yeah, I haven't asked him. I saw something like a tweet or whatever it is, saying it was nice to get his first goal despite the result. I think it was his goal. Hopefully he'll score some better ones.
You've got a decision to make though between him and
yeah.
up front, haven't you?
Yeah, and that's again what I want. It's no point, because if we just have the one and Caden had gone down injured the other night, then we'd really scratching his heads, and we'll probably have to come up with a different formation, or change a lot of things. So no, that's what I want. He'll be in good spirits. I think Ellis has done pretty well as well. So like I say, a bit of thinking to do.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you very much.